We're going to make goat cheese, and we're going to use 2 liters of milk. So make sure you get a pot that's big enough for both liters of milk, and then make sure you have enough vinegar, because for each liter of milk that you use, you need 1/8 of a cup of vinegar. So because we have 2 liters, we're going to use 1/4 cup of vinegar. And once you get started, it gets a little busy, so you just pour it out right away, and then it's ready to go. Once you get the milk boiling and the vinegar in it, you have to come over right away and separate it. So I got this ready to go: a colander with cheesecloth, a large mixing bowl so that the whey can pour through and we can pour it out, and then some spices to add to it. I have some dried basil and some salt, and then we need a small bowl to put the cheese in afterwards. The milk will be hot, so you have to move kind of quickly and be ready to go. So let's go put it on. You have to be very careful to keep stirring it the whole time once you get it in, because you don't want it to burn and make the cheese taste off. So you have to stir it continuously until it boils. And once it does boil, it foams up really quick. So you have to keep stirring it, because if you stop for a second, it'll foam over, make a mess, and stink real bad. So just keep stirring it continuously on high so it actually brings to a boil. And get your vinegar handy. So we're almost at a boil. It's starting to foam up a little bit. So you have to keep stirring it so it doesn't boil over or burn. And then as soon as you see the bubbles getting real big, then it's time to start adding the vinegar, and you want to go really slowly. I've used apple cider vinegar, but any vinegar will do. It's actually the acidity that just separates the whey from the curds, and this is what we want. Maybe at this point we can just turn it down a little bit, or just turn it off, in fact, and just let it separate slowly with the vinegar. Oh, you have a good separation here. Continue stirring just for a little bit. And then we can just transfer it over. I'm just going to keep stirring it to let it cool down a little bit, because this part is a little tricky. You can see the curdles right on there, the curds. So very carefully, with the cheesecloth intact, slowly start to pour it in. There we go. And underneath is all the whey. And it's going to take a little while to get all the water out, so you can just transfer it back to the pot and then stir it so that all the water goes through the cheesecloth. And then once there's enough water out, the more water that goes out, the drier it gets. So if you want a bit of a drier cheese, actually once it's through, you can wring it out and let it hang, and the more it hangs and drips, the drier it gets. But if you like it fresh and soft, this is all you do. There's your cheese. And be very careful with the cheesecloth, because it rips easy. So if you're using something kind of pointy or you're being a little too rough with it, it'll just break and then your cheese will fall through. Now this is plain cheese, I guess you could say. Farmer's cheese. And here you can start doing different variations with it. I've got salt and basil aside here, because what you can do is add seasonings right now to this stage. There, so that's starting to dry up much nicer. And then let's go over to the salt. Some sea salt. Just sprinkle it, and it takes out a little bit of the moisture and gives it just a bit of a salty flavor. And let's use some dry basil, although you can use fresh basil too, and that'll work. Any spices will work, it'll make it taste good. And stir that in. There we go. Now to get the excess juice out, you have to be really careful you don't burn yourself. But if you take the cloth and wrap it up as best as you can, give it a bit of a twist. And just squeeze out that excess moisture without puncturing a hole in the net, and all the cheese will spill out. What you can do is you can hang it up. You can kind of tack it to a nail against something and let it drip some more, and you can let it drip for a long time, and you can play with fermentation and make some harder cheeses and use rennet. But for this, just a simple farmer's goat cheese, that's it. You're done making your cheese. Get out a little more moisture. That's it. Now let's transfer it to our bowl. Open it up. And voila! Goat cheese. When you're done with your cheese, don't remember you've got whey yet. And there's some whey in here yet too. But this whey can be used to cook beans, to add to your sourdough, and used for soups. It's got a lot of nutrition too. It's the other half of the milk, curds and whey. So save it, and then you can use it later on. You can also water your plants with it.